The room fell silent as my most private moments with Marcus flashed across the oversized monitors. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest, the weight of 1,000 eyes pinning me in place. I stood at the witness table in the Los Angeles Federal Courthouse, the appointment hearing for Assistant United States Attorney already underway when the scandal detonated. 1 second, the committee members were nodding politely in my opening statement about justice and integrity. The next, grainy but unmistakable photos of Marcus and me, arms wrapped tight on that Malibu balcony last summer, lit up every screen in the chamber. Whispers turned to gasps. A reporter in the gallery dropped her notepad. My boss, the current U.S. attorney, stared at me like I had grown a second head. I felt the floor tilt beneath my polished Oxfords. This was supposed to be the pinnacle of 15 years of grinding through law school and scholarships, late nights at the firm, and swallowing every doubt about who I really was. Now it was unraveling in high definition for the entire room, for the live stream, for the world. My phone buzzed violently in my pocket. Probably Marcus, probably my parents in Illinois who still thought I was the straight-laced golden boy they raised. I forced my face into neutral, the same mask I had worn since college when I first realized the truth about myself and decided the safest place for it was locked away. The chairwoman cleared her throat. "Mr. Reynolds, do you need a moment?" I didn't. I couldn't afford one. "No, ma'am. I'm ready to continue." The words came out steady, even though my pulse screamed otherwise. Inside, panic clawed at every thought. Career over. Reputation shredded. The quiet life I had built with Marcus about to be dragged into the spotlight he never asked for. Yet somewhere beneath the terror, a tiny, defiant spark flickered. I had hidden long enough. Maybe this was the moment the hiding ended. Hours earlier that same morning, I had kissed Marcus goodbye at our apartment door in Silver Lake, both of us laughing about how I would finally get the title I had chased since I passed the bar. "Go crush it, counselor," he had said, his fingers brushing my tie straight. He had no idea the photos we thought were safe on my encrypted laptop had somehow leaked. Maybe a disgruntled paralegal, maybe a hack cloud, maybe pure bad luck. I drove to the courthouse replaying every careful choice I had made to keep us invisible. Separate vacations, no joint social media, never holding hands in public. All of it for this appointment, for the chance to stand in courtrooms that mattered and fight for people who needed someone like me on their side. Now the secret was public property. As the committee recessed in stunned chaos, I stepped into the hallway and finally answered Marcus's call. His voice cracked over the line. "Ethan, what the hell is happening? My phone is blowing up pictures of us from last year. Are you okay?" "I'm handling it." I lied, because the truth was I had no plan. The only thing I knew was that I could not walk away from the hearing. Not after everything. Not after the nights I had lain awake wondering if loving him meant sacrificing the career I had bled for. Back in the chamber, the chairwoman reconvened. Cameras clicked from the press row like gunfire. I straightened my shoulders, met her eyes, and waited for the first question that would decide whether 15 years of silence had been worth it, or whether the real test of my life had only just begun. The air felt thicker, heavier, as if the entire city outside the tall windows was holding its breath with me. I had built my entire identity around being the flawless lawyer. Now the world was about to see the man underneath. And I had no idea which version of me would walk out of this room. The questions came fast and sharp after the recess. "Mr. Reynolds, these images appear to show you in an intimate relationship with another man. Does this affect your ability to uphold the impartiality required of an assistant United States attorney?" The committee member's tone was neutral, but the subtext roared. "Explain yourself." I leaned into the microphone. "It does not, Senator. My personal life has never interfered with my professional duties. I have prosecuted over 200 cases without a single conflict of interest, and I intend to continue that record." The words felt rehearsed because I had practiced versions of this speech in the shower for years, just in case the closet door ever cracked. Inside, though, my mind raced back to the night I met Marcus 3 years ago at a quiet gallery opening in downtown LA. I had gone alone, telling colleagues it was for networking. He was there curating the exhibit, laughing with friends in a simple button-down that somehow looked better than any suit I owned. Our eyes caught across the room, and something electric passed between us. We talked for hours about art, justice, the way the city lights look from Runyon Canyon at dusk. By the end of the night, I had his number and a promise of coffee. I told myself it was just coffee. Then it became dinners, then weekends in Big Sur where no one knew us, then the quiet decision to move in together without ever telling anyone at the firm. Marcus had always understood the secrecy. "Your career is part of who you are," he would say, kissing my forehead when I came home exhausted from another late trial. But lately the weight of it had started to wear on him. Last month he had asked, gently, when we could stop pretending. I had promised soon, after this appointment. Now soon had exploded into right now. My phone vibrated again during the hearing, my mother this time. I silenced it. I could picture her in the Illinois kitchen, clutching her pearls, whispering to my father about how their son, the lawyer, had somehow become one of those people on national news. They had never asked. I had never volunteered. Growing up in a small town outside Chicago, the expectation was clear: good grades, good job, nice girl, nice life. Being gay did not fit that script. So I buried it under ambition and told myself a lie would keep everyone safe. The committee pressed harder. "Have you ever used your position to favor certain communities?" Another member asked. I answered with facts, conviction rates, pro bono hours, letters of support from colleagues who had no idea about Marcus but respected my work. Yet every answer felt like walking a tightrope. One misstep and the appointment would vanish. During the lunch break, I slipped into a side conference room and called Marcus back. His voice was tight. "I'm at the apartment. Reporters are outside. Ethan, I didn't sign up to be your secret scandal." The hurt in his words cut deeper than the leaked photos. For the first time, I heard the cost he had paid loving me in the shadows. I promised I would fix it, but even as I said the words, I wondered if I could. Back in the hearing, the chairwoman summarized the morning's events. "We will reconvene at 2. Mr. Reynolds, we expect full transparency." Transparency. The word landed like a challenge. I had spent my adult life avoiding it. Now the entire federal appointment process demanded it. As I stepped outside into the California sunshine, the city hummed around me. Cars rushing down Hill Street, palm trees swaying, people living openly in ways I had only dreamed about. For the first time, the mask felt too heavy to carry anymore. I had come this far by hiding. Maybe the only way forward was to stop. The afternoon session opened with more media in the gallery than seats could hold. My rival at the firm, Derek Lansing, sat in the front row wearing a smug expression I had seen too many times when he stole credit on cases. I wondered if he had anything to do with the leak. His assistant had access to share drives, but there was no time to chase that rabbit hole. The committee wanted answers about my lifestyle, and I gave them the truth I had practiced in my head for years. My relationship with Marcus Lee does not compromise my ethics. It makes me more committed to protecting the rights of every citizen, including those who still face prejudice. The words surprised even me. They felt clean, honest, and terrifyingly real. A few committee members nodded. Others scribbled notes with tight lips. I could feel the shift in the room. Some support, some skepticism, but no outright dismissal. During a short break, Derek cornered me in the hallway. "Tough break, Reynolds. I always suspected you were playing for the other team. Shame the photos surfaced right before your big moment." His smile was all teeth. I kept my face blank. "If you had something to do with this, Derek, the Bar Association will hear about it." He laughed and walked away, but the seed of doubt grew. Later, I learned from a friend at the firm that Derek had been passed over for the same appointment. Motive was there. That evening, I drove home through traffic that felt endless. Marcus met me at the door, eyes red. "I quit my job today. Clients canceled after seeing the news. How am I supposed to explain this to my family in Seattle?" The pain in his voice cracked something inside me. We sat on the couch in the dark, the city lights flickering through the blinds. For the first time, I told him everything. The fear of losing the only career I had ever wanted, the nights I cried in hotel rooms after trials because I missed him so much, the promise I had made to myself that once I reached the top, I would finally be free. He listened, then said quietly, I love you, Ethan, but I can't keep being your shadow. I held him tighter than I ever had in public. In that moment, I realized the appointment was no longer the most important thing. Being worthy of Marcus was. The next morning, the newspapers screamed headlines. Gay photos derail, rising prosecutor. My mother finally called. Ethan, your father and I, we don't understand. But we love you. Come home when you can. Her voice shook, yet the words were a lifeline I had never expected. The world was changing faster than I had allowed myself to believe. At the firm, my colleagues split into camps. Some avoided me. Others clapped my shoulder and said, "We've got your back." The human resources director pulled me aside and reminded me of the firm's diversity policy. It felt surreal, like waking up in a version of my life I had only watched from afar. The committee announced they would deliberate for 48 hours. I spent them pacing the apartment, replaying every choice that had led me here. Meeting Marcus, hiding him, loving him anyway. The photos had forced open a door I had nailed shut. Now I had to decide whether to walk through it or keep pretending the house was still standing. The final hearing day arrived under a cloudless Los Angeles sky. I wore the same navy suit, but this time without the armor of secrecy. When the chairwoman asked for my closing statement, I stood and spoke from the heart instead of the script. 3 years ago, I met a man who taught me that integrity is not about perfection. It is about showing up as your full self. I hid that part of me because I believed it would cost me everything I worked for. Today I stand before you not as a flawless candidate, but as a complete one. My record speaks for itself. My love for Marcus does not diminish my ability to serve. It reminds me every day why justice matters for everyone. The room stayed quiet long enough for me to hear my own heartbeat. Then the chairwoman nodded once. "Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. We will vote in closed session." Outside, Marcus waited on the courthouse steps. He had come despite the cameras, despite the fear. We stood together in full view while reporters shouted questions. For the first time, I took his hand in public. The gesture felt small and enormous at once. Hours later, the decision came by email. I had been appointed. The committee statement was brief but clear. Mr. Reynolds' professional qualifications outweigh any personal matters. We look forward to his service. Attached was a note from the chairwoman herself. Courage looks different for everyone. You showed it today. Derek Lansing was quietly investigated and later suspended for unauthorized access to firm files. The leak had been him. After all, petty revenge that backfired spectacularly. Justice, it turned out, worked both inside and outside the courtroom. That night, Marcus and I cooked dinner together with the windows open to the evening breeze. We talked about the future without whispering. He told me about the new freelance clients who had reached out after the news. People who wanted to work with someone brave enough to be seen. I told him about the call from my parents inviting us both for Thanksgiving. Small steps, but real ones. I realized the appointment was never the finish line. It was the starting gun for a life I had been too afraid to run. The photos that had nearly destroyed me had instead set me free. Weeks blurred into a new rhythm. My first day as Assistant United States Attorney felt both ordinary and historic. I walked the same marble halls, but now colleagues greeted me with genuine respect instead of careful distance. The cases piled up, civil rights, public corruption, the kind of work I had always dreamed about. Yet the real change happened at home. Marcus and I stopped hiding dates. We went to the Grove on Saturday mornings, held hands at the movies, posted a simple anniversary photo that drew supportive comments from strangers and old law school friends alike. My mother flew out for a weekend. She hugged Marcus at the airport and cried quietly in the car. "I wish we had known sooner," she said. "We just wanted you happy." The words healed something I had carried since high school. My father sent a text 2 days later. "Proud of you, son. Bring Marcus for Christmas." Short, awkward, perfect. Not everyone was kind. A few online trolls surfaced. An anonymous letter arrived at the office calling me unfit. I answered them the only way I knew how, by winning my first trial as the new AUSA, a discrimination case that made national headlines for all the right reasons. Each victory quieted the noise a little more. Marcus thrived too. His design work landed a major campaign with a progressive nonprofit. He started volunteering at an LGBTQ youth center, helping kids who reminded him of the scare version of me he had fallen in love with. One evening, he came home glowing. A teenager told me today that seeing us on the news gave him the courage to come out to his parents. "You did that, Ethan." I shook my head. "We did that." Still, quiet moments of doubt crept in. Late at night, I would stare at the ceiling, remembering the terror of that hearing room. The fear had not vanished. It had simply become manageable. Marcus would roll over, rest his head on my chest, and whisper, "You're allowed to feel it. Just don't let it win." Those words became my new anchor. The media moved on to fresher scandals, but the lesson stayed. I had spent years believing that success required perfection and invisibility. The leak proved the opposite. Authenticity, once forced into the light, became its own kind of power. I started mentoring younger lawyers who reached out in private, sharing the same fears I once carried. Each conversation reminded me why the fight mattered. 6 months after the appointment, Marcus and I stood on the same Malibu balcony where those fateful photos had been taken. The ocean glittered under a full moon, and this time we did not glance over our shoulders. We simply existed, two men in love, unashamed. I had just finished arguing my biggest case yet, a landmark employment discrimination suit that set new precedent. The judge's ruling came down in our favor that afternoon. Marcus had been in the gallery, beaming like he had won it himself. On the drive home, we talked about the future, maybe adopting someday, maybe buying a house with a yard, maybe just continuing to build the life we had almost lost. Looking back, the scandal felt like a strange gift. It stripped away every excuse I had used to stay hidden and forced me to choose who I wanted to be. The man who got the appointment was not the careful, closeted lawyer who walked into that hearing. He was someone braver, someone who understood that integrity is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward anyway. Marcus slipped his arm around my waist. "Proud of you," he said softly. I kissed him under the stars, no longer worried about who might see. The city lights stretched out below us, bright and alive, just like the possibilities ahead. The journey had been messy, painful, and public, but it had led me here, to a love that no longer needed shadows and a career that finally felt like it belonged to the whole me. In the quiet after the storm, I understood the deepest truth. The photos had not ruined my life. They had finally let me live it. In reflecting on Ethan's journey, I see how one moment of exposure can shatter carefully built walls, yet reveal stronger foundations beneath. The story reminds us that authenticity, though terrifying, often becomes the very bridge to the success and love we fear we'll lose by embracing it. My gentle advice: stop waiting for the right time to be fully yourself. Life has a way of choosing the moment for you, and courage is simply deciding to walk through the door when it opens. The real lesson is that hiding protects nothing worth keeping. Living openly honors everyone who fought to make that possible, and the peace it brings is worth every risk.